Yeah. Okay. There we go. Um, okay. Hello everyone, welcome to this live stream. In today's live stream we'll be solving some puzzles and playing Rapid as the title suggests. Hope everyone is having a good day. This thumbnail of the live stream, it is this what many people call rubbish, because admittedly it probably is a little bit of nonsense. It's definitely not the most principled way of playing as white. It comes from the Four Knights opening, and white has tons of ways of playing this position. It's amazing, actually. So there's h3, which is probably more serious. There's a3. Lichess is a very good and rich repertoire or list of moves. There's even knight 65, Halloween Gambit. There's knight d5 as well, which I think deserves some attention. There's also d4 takes and then knight d5. One of the most rich positions in chess, actually. Either way, a4 is what I'll be trying today. It's not a very serious approach, but I am essentially saying, look, I'm playing with the black pieces, but with the extra tempo of a4. And if you go for bishop c5, there's still this knight takes c5 trick, followed by d4, and white is absolutely fine. Yeah, it's just giving away that small plus. But if black does end up going for this reversed 4 knights, then a4 is a useful move. But okay, I think h3 would be even more useful. So it's just different usefulness. This one is just occupying space in the queen side. Hello, Viking. I'm okay. I'm doing well. You? But enough of all of this garbage. Yeah, this is not very principled. I think it makes more sense to try something like knight d5 after d4 or knight d5 directly, which I'll be exploring in the future, and hopefully I'll get to play it. Maybe even during stream. Let's start with the puzzles. Okay, so let's warm up. This is what I usually do in my routine, by the way. If you guys follow the Instagram page, I'm uploading every puzzle I solve, I uploaded there. It's quite like heavy stuff. It's pretty strong puzzles. We're currently in 2,800 rating points. But yeah, I mean, if you're a strong player, it's well suited for you. Okay, enough of that. Can you make an opening video, opening theory video? Okay, I'll write that down. I know that people like these. It takes a lot of work. Depends on how many people are asking. What opening are you interested in? Thank you, Viking. There are many openings out there. Making an opening video about that 4 knights variation, I think that would be interesting. I'll think about it. Okay, so what is going on here? So we have knight, 4 pawns, and we have 3 pawns. This one's 2 steps away from promoting. And mine is 3 steps away, but technically 4 because I have to move my king. Okay. I'm very cold. Hello, Roger. We're doing some puzzles. We're starting with puzzles, and then we're gonna start playing Rapid. Or maybe we should start playing Rapid right away, because the tournament just started. Okay, let's do some puzzles. Maybe we can join at 1. So we have this position. Sorry. One of the first things that I think about is that, as I said, black is 2 steps away from promoting, and we are 3 steps, but technically 4, because we have to spend a tempo moving the king. Which means that black has an advantage in terms of who's faster, if it was only because of the pawns. However, this knight is not as active as my knight. Because this knight is technically playing a role at more or less stopping those pawns, and this knight is far away. Or further away, compared to mine. Not only that, but moving on to candidate moves, which is the second part of, you know, this process. Whenever you land in a position you were not playing in, one of the things you have to do is evaluate. That's what we've done. So conclusion, black seems to be quicker, but at the same time, or on the other hand, on the contrary, our knight is more active than theirs, which means that we have the potential of sacrificing that knight for the pawn. And that kind of gives us, or puts us in the driver's seat, as they say. And yeah, other than that, we're down a pawn in material, but that doesn't matter. I think whoever promotes first wins. Okay, moving on to candidate moves, finally. This has to happen very quickly. I'm just taking a long time verbalizing it or articulating it. But in reality, these things should happen very quickly, or you should get into the habit of doing this every time you land in a new position. So, okay, knight takes h3 is my first candidate move. Why is this my first candidate move? Because after king takes, this is what we call, well, what I call, okay, someone probably called it before me, of course, because I learned it from somewhere. Short calculation. And what does that mean? That means I calculate knight takes h3, king takes h3, and I'm not going to spend too much time. I'm just trying to give myself some ideas of the position, because those are very forcing moves. I'm sacrificing my knight, black is taking my knight, accepting the sacrifice, and then I play something like king d6, not king d7, which may seem a little bit more intuitive for some of you, but after knight d3, knight e5 is going to be check. So king d6, g4, c6, g3, c7, g2, we promote with check, and after king h2, it seems like we're winning because we promoted first, but it seems unclear. Okay, now we stop. Very importantly, we don't continue just thinking about that position. How many moves did we calculate deep? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Like, okay, technically, like around 4. Because one move counts as one move of white, one move of black. So around 4 or 5 moves deep. Do we think we calculated absolutely everything? Do you think we covered all the bases? Absolutely not. There could have been a deviation in that variation. It wasn't that linear. It wasn't that forcing. For example, black can go with knight d3 instead of accepting the sacrifice. After accepting the sacrifice and after white plays king d6, black could go for something like knight c2 maybe, or knight d3. You get what I mean. You have to calculate wide and little by little, so you're covering all the bases. We're gonna play arena today? Yes. Hello, Johnny. Hello, FM David. Hello, Johnny. Hope you're well. Now, so knight takes h3, king takes h3. Let's go king d6 again. And we have to also make sure that we don't have any other candidate moves. By the way, knight g4. Don't think it makes such a big difference. I think black goes h2. And if anything, I want black's king on h3 more than on h2. Because after c8, we're promoting with check. On h2, that wouldn't be check, of course. Okay. So knight takes h3, king takes h3. Something that I've noticed is that, as we already kind of knew, king d6 is not the only move. There's also king takes b5. So we're already kind of admitting or accepting that in the initial position, there doesn't seem to be any alternative to knight takes h3. We could go king takes b5 directly, but king takes f2, c6, h2, c7, and I mean, clearly black is promoting first. So knight takes h3, king takes h3. I don't think knight d3 is worth calculating that much because we simply take, and after this, our king is closer to all the action in the queen side. I find it hard to believe this is working. But actually, just out of curiosity, knight takes h3, knight d3, we have the time. If knight takes g5, knight takes b4, king takes b5, knight takes a2, and king c4. Very important move, I think, because if we go c6, knight c3 check, and it's a little bit unclear. So king c4, and then c6, c7, and there's nothing that can stop that pawn. So knight takes h3, clearly black has to take. Did I get the news of the... I absolutely did. Last live stream, I talked about it at the beginning. Super tragic. Super tragic. It's insane that you have to literally die to to get attention, to get the attention that people should have already given before. And it's also sad to see like everyone, I mean, this is the media, this is not a surprise, but like, yeah, people making videos over and over, and super sad. Okay, let me, Viking, I haven't, but let me check now, because I know that I've told you. Remind me after this puzzle, okay? I've been super bad in that sense. It's just that I had to fix the microphone's quality, like it was distorting itself last stream, and then it was then the internet was spiking. I think it's not happening anymore. Hopefully, I'm gonna touch wood. Let's not jinx it. Those are my excuses. Sorry, Viking, but I should check into it. We'll do it before the arena. Okay, so knight takes h3, king takes h3. Oh, I forgot to record. Goodness gracious. Okay, knight takes h3, king takes h3. Here we have king takes b5, g4, c6, g3, c7, g2, c8, check, king h2. My question is, even if black ends up promoting, is this position, for example, queen g8, which is a suboptimal way of getting that position, but just for us to prove or to make the point, queen g8 in that position, black's king is on h2, black's pawn is on g2, black promotes, we sacrifice we exchange for the newly promoted queen, king takes g1, and we have 2 pawns against 1, and black of course has a knight. My initial my intuition tells me that, or my initial impression tells me that it should not be enough. However, it's very close, because we go king a6, something like knight c2 or knight d3, let's say knight c2, b5, knight a3. And then it becomes impossible for us to take the pawn and promote, because as soon as we take the pawn, we lose the b pawn, which is essentially the one that had the prospects of promoting. So let's go into that position again. Knight takes h3, king takes h3, king takes b5, sorry. I don't think knight d3, by the way, is a serious alternative. I don't think this works because of c6. And after that, at 95, there's c7, and it's winning. After a6, instead of 95, there's king a5. And after 95, there's c7 again. Yeah. So knight takes h3, king takes h3, king takes b5, g4, c6, g3, c7, g2, c8, queen, check, king h2. And then we have this check, which is what I was talking about. So this, of course, now I understand. We could, so after king g1 or king g3, we could go something like queen g7, check. And even if it's not check, even if it's king g1, well, if it's king g1, then knight, queen d4, check, and then we take on a7, then we sacrifice our queen, and then we're just easily winning. So it's knight takes h3. Okay, I'm gonna increase the volume of this. Or is it loud enough? Oh, okay, I see what I did. Ay. There we go. King takes b5. By the way, okay. Yeah, there's nothing else. Whoa! Okay. Let's find out why. King takes b5. Good lord. Where did we go wrong? I mean, technically we could go king d6, g4, this, the same. And then, I don't know, it just seems so suboptimal. Queen h8, king g3, queen g7. We do the same, and we should be winning. King takes b5 is wrong? What? Ah, because of knight f3. c6 and knight d4. Okay. Makes sense now. Okay, well, it doesn't make sense anymore. I thought it made sense. King d5? Knight d3, a3. Knight f4, king d6. Good lord. Well, I guess this is what we get for... Oh no, we were just in 2800, and now, because of my... messing up, we're below. Nice to see you from... It's been a long time, bro. Hey! No, thanks for that. Hope you've been learning. Hope it's been useful. Okay, so king... Yeah, clearly king takes b5 and king d6 don't work. Wow. King d5? Knight d3, a3. Okay, well, I'm sorry about this. I don't like doing this when you know, you get something wrong and you're just guessing. I mean, it's my idea that we have to move the king, clearly. It's just insane that we have to move it. Is it b7? That would be insane. g4, c6, g3, c7, g2, c8. We get that position. Check. We somehow take on b5. But I don't understand why king d6 doesn't work. Wow, okay. Okay, let's find out. This is beyond my comprehension. You need someone you need to follow someone stronger. I'm not strong enough to understand this right away. King b7. Yeah, that's what you said, Viking, but how? How on earth? What opening could you recommend to a person who has 1,300 FIDE rating who gets an average of 4 points per tournament? Opening wise, I don't think it's so important. I think as long as you're not playing the French and the King's Indian, as long as you're occupying the center, so that could be playing with white, the 4 knights, the Scotch opening, the Ruy Lopez, and with black, okay, with black it's a little bit more complicated, but yeah, fighting for the center as well, somehow. So not the King's Indian, not the French. So for example, the Queen's Gambit declined, or yeah, double King's Pawn, and playing depending on what your opponent plays. Yeah, staying away from the French and the King's Indian, that's my answer. Why king b7? That's the question. So let's try to figure out why king takes b5 doesn't work first. Okay. Clearly the bar goes all the way down. My theory is that it's because of knight c2. Then c6, there's knight d4. The knight sacrifices itself, which is essentially the same thing we did. And black is promoting. So let's just confirm. Let's just confirm king takes b5. Yeah, knight c2 or knight f3. It doesn't really matter. Both of them are working. If it's not because of any of these two moves, white is essentially winning. So it was very poor by me to not check that. Very poor by me. Okay, king d6 is a little bit more of a problem. Like I really don't know why this is. King takes b5 I realized immediately, but king d6? Insane. Okay, knight c2 as well, according to the engine. c6. Oh wow. Knight e3 or a3. As long as it's landing on c4 eventually. That is amazing, because black is just in time to put a knight on b6. Well, okay. So knight c4 comes with check. That's why sometimes you wanted your king on d5, but then the king on d5 is running into, I mean, knight d3 and c6, knight takes b4. We're even losing a pawn in this one, right? Ah, but here I thought about a3, I remember. But I guess it's just not the same. That's just winning. Knight d3. Ah, there's also, of course, knight c2 is much better. So with the same idea, and after a3, there's, oh sorry, after a3 we just take, and then knight c4, knight b6. Yeah, of course. So king d5, king d6, king takes b5, they're all wrong. King d7 results in you blocking the diagonal. King c7 doesn't make sense because you're putting your king in the same file as the pawn wants to promote in. So king b7 by method of elimination. Wow. That is very instructive. And I'm assuming, but it was just unclear to me that this endgame, how was it winning? But I guess there are tons of ways. Check. Queen f4, of course. Whoa. The difference between the best move and the second best move. Okay. This never works. Let me show you. Okay, well that doesn't work either. I think this should work. I had the right idea at the beginning. There we go. Plus okay, no, nothing is happening right. It was more before. It was plus 15 and plus like 5, but now it's increased. Queen f4 is strong, that's the point. Happens that queen f4 is the best. Just out of curiosity. Okay, well, I mean, yeah, I'm assuming this is just easily winning somehow. King g1. Can you take this? Yeah, even this is winning. Okay. You're always going to sacrifice your queen, but you can give 1,000 checks in the meantime. So knight f3, queen h5, king f. Exactly, something like this. And then there's always queen b6 or queen c5, yeah. Check Discord, okay. I'm going to do one more puzzle, then I'm going to check Discord, and then I'll see if I can sort out the moderator stuff for Viking. Let's see. Okay. I'm gonna have to lower the difficulty because these are already the ones that I do in my own time. I'm trying to be instructive here. Okay. So we're playing with the white pieces. Yeah, immediately this seems quite easy. So rook takes g7 is my first candidate move. Rook g1 is a candidate move, but we're losing the rook, so quickly we reject that. Don't be afraid of like mentioning ridiculous looking moves. The odds are that, well, in this position it's just insanely bad, of course. But you don't know when an insanely looking bad move in chess is going to actually work. Okay, well, other than that, I mean, I guess rook takes d8, but rook takes g7 is clearly the most forcing move in this position. Not only because it's a check, but also if you take a look at everyone, well, all of the black pieces, the heavy ones, they're all in this side of the board. What am I doing there? I'm visually telling you why, without even calculating anything, why this is a move that you should calculate, or why it should come to your mind, why you should be attracted to it. I mean, if you can be attractive, that would be a plus, but I guess that's a different story. Either way, rook takes g7 check, king takes g7 is one forcing move. There's also king h8 or king f8. Let's try to sort out the ones that we're less worried about. So just to make sure that we are actually calculating the right move. So this is what we call, or I mean, it's just cleaning everything around, all the trash around the main move. So making sure the calculation is very clean. Rook takes g7, king h8. Interesting. I guess we could just stack the other rook. If not, we can already sacrifice. King takes, queen h4, king g6, king g7, or king g8. It doesn't really matter. We go rook g1, king f7 or king f8. It doesn't matter. Queen f6, this, queen takes e6, followed by rook g8, mate. So rook takes e7, king h8. We sacrifice again and we win. King f8, on the other hand, what can we do? I guess we can get into something similar. I mean, we can also play queen h4. Rook takes e7, king f8. We go queen h4. We're keeping an eye on f2. We're threatening queen e7 or queen f6, which are ending the game. And it seems like black will have to take the rook either way, and this is just a much worse version because much worse version because we can play queen f6, king g8, and rook g1 mate right away. On the other hand, with a queen on f4 rather than on h4, we don't have queen f6. So, in short words, rook takes g7, king h8 or king f8 doesn't work. So king takes g7 is the only move. It's safe to say that now that we've done our work of cleaning everything around it. And then we go queen g5 check. So queen g5 check, once again, black has 3 moves. King f8, king f7, and king h8. King h8, it seems like everything just transposes. Because king h8, king f7, king f8, there's queen f6. Either all of them, it doesn't matter. If we went to f7 or f8 or h8, it doesn't matter. Black will have 2 moves after that, either king g8 or king e8. Now, I think we're getting into the important part of this. If they go king g8, rook g1 is mate. So it's safe to say that black has king e8. So once again, from this position, we're already reaching by force, like thinking about this as if we were teleporting. So essentially, the difference or all we have to do to reach that position is to sacrifice. Everything is forcing. If we want to reach that position with a king on e8 and with our queen on f6, we can. It's possible. Rook takes e7, king takes e7, queen g5, king f7, or king f8, queen f6, king e8, right? So everything is forcing. I can't stress that enough. Now, I guess this is the critical part of the puzzle. What is the next move? So there's queen takes e6, king f8, and of course rook g1. But that's not a check, which allows black to play queen takes f2. Maybe that's a problem. That's why queen takes e6, king f8. Maybe we should take first here. And then if king e8, I mean, we have a nice variety, but I guess just rook g1. And then once we include that rook, you're going to say, David, we're down a rook. Well, that extra rook that black has technically is on a8, and it's not... Yeah, black still doesn't have any pieces around the king defending. So rook takes g7, king takes g7, queen g5, king f7 or king f8, queen f6, king e8, queen takes e6, king f8, only move. Here we have queen takes f5 check. If black goes to the g file, rook g1 is check, and it's game over soon. So king e7 or king e8. King e7, we can go queen f6. Maybe not necessary. Maybe we can go... but I see. If king e8... Actually, let me start with king e8. We have 2 moves. King e8, we go rook g1. And then it's game over. Because rook g8 is arriving with decisive result. Arriving with... Daniel Narodetsky, do you know him? I didn't know him personally. I think I played once a bullet game. Yeah, a tragedy. True tragedy. Affected many people I know. And yeah, just super sad. Rook g1, king f7. Sorry. Rook takes g7, king takes g7, queen g5, king f7, queen f6. So we got to that position. So queen takes f5, and king e7 is a little bit more serious. But king e8, because king e8, rook g1. Why is king e7 more serious? Because after rook g1, there's rook f8. Maybe. Or maybe not. Maybe it's just rook g1 either way. And after rook f... there's rook g8. There's rook g8. There's rook g8. That's why it's serious. So maybe we should throw in a check. That check being queen f6. If king e8, we go rook g1. And it's king d7, rook g7. And it's game over. So king d7 is more serious. And then we have e6 and we... Wow, this is beautiful. e6 check. We're taking the queen because of this pawn was in the way. So this is some sort of desperado or opening lines with a forced check, of course. And then we take the queen. There we go. So we take, and then I guess it doesn't continue. For some reason, the engine likes doing this. So we go check if king d7, e6. And this is what we... Now you can appreciate the magic And king e8, I guess rook g1. Yeah, nice. And I repeat, I say this, I've said it before, maybe not enough. So I'll say it again. I'll bother you guys. Many of you just say, oh, queen g5, you see a green check here, and after queen takes c6, the puzzle stops. And you're like, oh, perfect. Like, look, I'm the best. And even though that's not completely wrong, it is wrong to just not confirm and make sure that you actually got the line right. The amount of times that I've had a puzzle right, like I've had the answer correctly, I've answered correctly, but I was actually going to play something different to what the engine suggested. So for example, after king f8, let's say I was going to play queen d6. This is an extreme example, of course, because it's blunders. Of course, the engine is going to say, wait a minute, this is just a blunder. So yeah, you have to find queen 6 f5, check. There's a study by Hikaru on Twitch, one named the Daniel London. Maybe you can see. Rest in peace, Daniel London. Let's see. Yeah. Oh, I didn't know that he used to play the London system. Actually, on the last stream, on what was it, Wednesday stream, I used the thumbnail as I put in the thumbnail the Jobava London. Maybe that's what you mean. Yeah. Together with Bortnik. Okay, well, let me take a look at Discord because some people were sending some things. Actually, let me just put it here. Okay, so Jenny has some positions for us. I guess we can show the stream. And I'm gonna check Viking before we go into the puzzles. Let me check the admin stuff. That I can okay. User management. Okay. Okay. Ah, there we go. Okay. Okay, Viking. What a second. Привет. Hey, there we go. Okay. Говоришь Po-ruski? Ne ruski. Angliski. That's about as much as I know in Russian. Or Bulgarsky or any Slavic language. Yeah, Jenny, where are you, Jenny? Would you like to be a mod or is that too much? I think you've told me it before, you don't. We'll see how you do, Viking. I think we'll see if that's too much power or not. But yeah, no. Of course, out of the people out there, I do trust you as much as you can trust someone. You know, if I, yeah. Just, I guess, I don't know. I guess people that insult and things like that. I mean, that's already automatically blocked. But yeah, I think you can time out and you can hide messages. I think that's your power. Okay, so let's see if we can play the arena tournament. Actually, we can do a couple of puzzle rushes. Ah, no, sorry, I absolutely forgot. Yeah, this is the problem. My memory is just deteriorating. It's insane. So we have these two positions as Gianni has sent us board editor, clear board. So in the first one we're black, and in the second one we're white. Maybe we can take a look at one of them. Not sure if we will have time for both. So we have pawns here. Bishop, knight, queen, king, rook, knight, king, pawns, bishop, knight, rook, queen, and rook. We have a knight here. Okay, I see the idea, I think. So we're playing with the black pieces, analysis board. So white just played. Actually, let's make it white to play. It's truly instructive. Is this from your game, Jenny? If you're still there by any chance. This is only BTP. What is BTP? Like, comment, and share the live. Viking, don't worry. This is just BTP. What is that? Sorry, I'm new to this whole internet stuff. Only move is neutralizing. Yeah, black to play. So knight g3, h takes g3, h takes g6, we lose. And we're supposed to win. Knight f2, rook takes f2. Knight f6. Queen g5. Oh, queen d5. It would be beautiful if it was forced, but it's not forced because there's knight e5. But it's along those lines. Probably bishop g4 then. Ah no, knight g... Okay, let's slow down for a second. Queen d5, knight e5. Bishop g4 doesn't work because after this, knight g3, queen takes g3, of course. So we have to play knight g3 first if we want to go for bishop g4. But the problem is that, you know, white can just play queen h6. And I think that's not working. It is a drawing idea, okay. It's a drawing idea. Drawing idea. Queen g5, knight g3, queen f6, knight f2, queen d5. Ah, well then queen d5 makes more sense. Maybe. Knight f6, bishop g4. Queen g5. H takes g6. Queen d3. Queen d3 maybe? I don't know, knight e5. Knight g3. Yeah, now that I remember, Jenny, you usually give tough ones. This is good, actually. I'll take a look at it from the small monitor. Viking, you don't have to do that, don't worry. I appreciate it though. Bishop g4, bishop f5. Knight f6, knight g3, knight f2, bishop f2. Queen h4, knight g3. Queen h4 is, you know, the worst out of all of them because knight takes h4 is check, and of course it's just not working. Okay, knight f6, knight f6, knight f6. Knight f6 looks decent. Okay, bishop g4. Let's go back to bishop g4. Bishop g4, what happens if, for example, queen takes g4? Accepting. Knight f2, but rook takes f2. Wow, you became a CM. You won't reveal it until you're... congratulations, Rodra Chess. You won't reveal it till you're sure about the answer. You know the drill, of course. Very serious, very professional, Jenny. Well done. Queen g3, h takes g3. Queen d4, bishop d4. Okay, queen g5. But I feel like I already tried that. h6, g6. What was wrong with that? Queen takes h8, king d7. Yeah, that's very wrong. That is wrong. So play black to play and draw. Knight f2. Queen d5 again. Let's go knight queen d5 again, actually. I like queen d5. What was wrong with that? Knight e5, king d8. We're doing well. It's queen d5. I was struggling at norms getting my title. But you don't need norms for CM. Queen d5, queen takes d5. Knight g3, and then that's the idea. So we saw that pretty quickly, but I guess we were... I mean, knight e5, we go king d8. Knight takes c6. We go... There's also queen h4, by the way. Queen d5, knight e5. There are tons of moves all of a sudden. After king d8. There's also king e7, but okay. King d8 is like the first move. So king d8, if queen h4, there's bishop e7. And then we're fine. We're probably even winning. So queen d5, knight e5, king d8. Knight takes c6. B takes c6, and we're absolutely fine. We're probably even winning again because we're up material. The only reason why white is, you know, scary is because of all of these pieces, these three pieces. All of these are doing nothing. So if we manage to exchange all of them or survive that. What? They called it norm. What? You don't need norms for anything in terms of CM and FM. I didn't score any norm for FM. I wish I had. Queen d5, knight e5, king d8. I mean, that's the answer. It's queen d5. I'm 100% sure. If it's not, then I'm amazed. If it's not, then I guess it's queen g5, but it's queen d5, it should be. What's wrong with that? Queen d5. It's not queen d5? That's insane. Queen g5? Okay, but... knight f7, I forgot about that, yeah. And now we're losing. No, you're absolutely right, Jenny. Queen d5, knight e5, king d8, knight f7, we're losing. Okay. So I guess we're patzers. And I just got my title certificate. Interesting. Well, congrats. Either way, congrats. King d8, then knight f7, f7, and queen f5 is best. Queen d5, knight e5, king d8, knight f7. Queen takes f7. Queen takes f7, rook f8. But then they don't have to play queen takes f7, they can play rook takes f7 instead. Queen d5, knight e5, king d8, knight f7, yeah. Queen g5 is losing as well, goodness. Queen d5, knight e5, king d8, knight f7. Wow. Queen d5, knight e5, king d8, knight f7. I'm still trying to make that work. Queen takes f7, queen takes f7 is work. Ah, no, it's not even working that. Because rook f8, there's queen d5. We're just losing. Okay, what about king e7 then? Queen d5, knight e5, king e7. It's insane. It looks horrible. But maybe it's working. I mean, we have a reasonable amount of pieces around the king that could potentially protect it. For example, queen d5, knight e5, king e7. I feel like I've calculated like such a patzer during streams. One thing is forced to go d8. Hey, there we go. I predicted it because of the streaming latency, the chat latency. Queen d5, knight e5, king e7. That's insane. Wow. I mean, I did say that king d8 made more sense to calculate first, but then knight f7 is just game over. So king e7. And then queen h4, there's just king d6. And after knight f7, I guess we still have to finish this off. After knight f7, there's king d7. So queen d5, knight e5, king e7, queen h4. Maybe just back king e8, because we just need a draw. So king e8, that's my answer. So queen d5, queen d5, knight e5, king e7, queen h4, king e8. If it's not because of queen h4, like let's say rook f7, we go king d6. We're threatening queen takes e5. And just like bring in pieces and like to protect. It works, yeah. Main idea of queen d5 is to cover f7 square. Wow, okay, insane. Nice channel, buddy. Just subscribe to you, buddy. You remind me of the chess kid from Twitch. Maybe you remember. The chess kid. Oh. The chess nerd? Either way, thank you very much. Yeah, I try my best. Okay, well, So it's queen d5. Can I turn on the engine, Jenny? I guess we can. There was a guy called the Chess Kid from Twitch. He did streaming back in 2018 and then he changed his name. Take a look at that. Feels like I knew Chess Kid. Twitch. Not witch, Twitch. I mean, yeah, the Chess Kid. And then he changed his username. Maybe he deleted his channel. What about YouTube? The Chess Kid. No, it's just flooded by chess.com's Chess Kid. Yeah. No, sorry. But I'm quite sure, I mean, yeah. Thank you, Jenny. Okay. Queen d5, the only move to draw. 95, and once again, king e7 is the only move to draw. That was a diabolical, absolutely diabolical puzzle. I mean, it's a calculation exercise, it's not even a puzzle. And yeah, very importantly, to go king e8. What did I suggest at first? I think I suggested king d6, which doesn't work because of knight f7. Yeah, so king e8. Yep. And of course, this is the cheapo. This is, oh, not h6. There we go. Okay, I think we're ready for an arena. Let me just double check and go to the toilet. I knocked on the door. What do you say this? Any questions? Oh, I'll read that afterwards for privacy reasons. I give you a like. Thank you. If you ever find anything about that, yeah, please please let me know, because it sounds like I feel I recall something like that, or maybe it's just the chess nerd. Are you sure it's not the chess nerd? He has a YouTube channel called the Chess Nerd. Okay, I'm going to the toilet real quick. Give me a sec. Mandela effect got real. Let's play an arena tournament. Whoa, why does it not say we're streaming? That's weird. We have leeches on our... There we go, there we go. There, okay. So let's explore. You know, actually it's pretty like surreal to me to be on the same, like, just, you know, Grandmaster Gauri, a very strong chess player from, where was he from? St. Louis? Somewhere in the United States. He is a super strong player. And being featured next to him, that's pretty cool. Hourly Rapid Arena, let's go. I will have to leave. See you soon. Thank you, Jenny. I'll try to solve the other one off stream, or if I have time in the stream, of course. I'll send you a message on Discord. They're good quality ones. Have a good day. Okay, well, let's open up with e4. So our opponent's gonna go for the French. d4 is the most natural move. f4 is interesting sometimes. We're gonna go for e5. The only difference is that we have a pawn on f4 rather than d4. So we're gonna go knight f3, very natural move as well. Developing our pieces. And this is the moment where it becomes pretty strategical. Sorry. I want to play pawn to d4. But after pawn takes, I want to take back with a pawn. So I play c3. I'm preparing d4. d4 takes. I feel like black gets tempos. And not only that, the whole g1 a7 diagonal is already quite... that's already quite weak. That's why I want a pawn on d4. If there's a pawn on d4, that's blocking the diagonal. Okay, black goes f6. I think this is not a problem. I think this allows white to get this very nice setup. Normally white's pawn is on f2. So, and our knight is already on f3, so that pawn on f2 remains on f2 for a long time. Having the pawn on f4 is an advantage. Okay, knight h6 makes sense. Let's play bishop d3. Potentially after knight f5, we can already start considering bishop takes f5. Queen b6, very natural, French-like move. Putting pressure on d4. It's not a threat yet. Maybe after castling short side it becomes a threat, because then queen takes d4 comes with a check. What do you mean, David? Castle short side takes, queen takes d4. If our king is on g1, this is check. If it was still on e1, we would have bishop b5. Desperado, or just a discovered attack on the queen. And we're winning. Okay, so... Also short side, takes. I can also play bishop e3. I can also just take on d4, queen takes d4, and king h1. Threatening bishop b5, and if bishop d7, just play with the initiative on something like knight c3. Okay. D takes c5, bishop takes c5, b4. Bishop f2, king. I guess king f1. But then there's knight g4 and it's a little bit complicated. Queen e2, c takes d4. Maybe this makes sense. Takes, bishop e3, queen b4, knight d2. Knight c3. Okay. Loads of moves. There's also bishop b5, so queen e2. C takes d4, c takes d4, knight takes d4, knight takes d4, queen takes d4, bishop b5, bishop d7. Something there. Queen e2, c takes d4, c takes d4, knight takes d4, knight takes d4. Also have knight c3. Oof. The question is, what do I prefer? How do I prefer to sacrifice the pawn? It seems like it's... I mean, I can also go bishop c2. Maybe I shouldn't be this extreme, but then, I don't know, it feels a little bit slow. Feels slow. Castle short side seems like the best way. C takes d4 and I just go king h1. I want to keep pieces over the board. Okay, our pawn just goes f5. Insane. Okay, I think c takes d4 is the most critical way of playing, but f5 doesn't bother me. Shouldn't be. It doesn't seem annoying. So I'm gonna go king h1. Ah, that's what they want, c4, and they want to close everything. Oh, okay, I see. Okay, d takes c5, bishop takes c5, king h1. Do we benefit from breaking the tension? I'm not sure. Okay, let's go king h1. If c4, okay. It's fine. We technically still have space advantage because our pawn is on e5. They have space advantage in the queen side, but we have space advantage in the center. And a little bit in the king side, I guess. Not only that, but I think I can go for b2, b3, and maybe black is not that ready to meet that pawn break. Okay, bishop d7 makes sense. There are moves like b4 in these positions, sacrificing the pawn for the sake of opening lines. b3 makes sense? No, I think we're losing the pawn. Bishop e3. I think taking in c4 is interesting. But we have to somehow... I want to play a3, but as soon as I play a3, c4 is a better version, because bishop c2, knight a5. And it becomes very difficult to... to break with b2, b3. So I'm just wondering, should I go b2, b3 now? But then on c takes d4, I'm a little bit... I don't like that. I don't like to allow that. So now I'm wondering, maybe takes, bishop takes. Here c4, knight b4 is annoying. So maybe, and b4, bishop e3 is annoying. So maybe I should just go queen e2. I don't want to allow black to go c4. That's why I'm breaking the tension. So now I'm gonna go queen e2. I'm a little bit worried about knight g4 though. Should I be worried about knight g4? I mean, there's b4, bishop e3. Takes. Could go queen d2. And I have space advantage. Should we play that position? I play queen e2. I prefer this. I prefer to keep pieces over the board. And also, after knight g4, there's some ideas of bishop takes a5 and e6. Maybe it's a long shot. It gets complicated. In some positions, I can sacrifice the exchange. For example, knight g4, there's a very interesting move, which is a4, with the idea that at knight f2 check, I take, and a5. Then takes, queen takes f2 at the end of the sequence. We've sacrificed both rooks for 3 pieces. So it's 2 rooks against 3 pieces, so a very weird unbalance. You don't get to see that unbalance very often. So black goes a5. I feel like black is not taking their chances. I think knight g4 must have been. I mean, a5 is definitely a good move in the queen side. Maybe they could have afforded to play knight g4 first and then knight a5 later on. What do I think now? I think we can play h3 to prevent all of that. I think we can go knight a3. Actually, knight a3 may be interesting because knight a3, this knight is heading to c2. This is the ideal square for that knight, heading to d4 eventually. And knight a3, knight g4, knight c2, we're covering the e3 square. Not covering the f2 square though. Sorry. Not covering the f2 square though. So maybe not good enough. Let's go h3. sorry. Good lord. So black castle short side. Now we get knight a3. This knight is heading to c2. David, your pawn structure could get very damaged. I couldn't care less about the pawn structure. I'm getting the dark squared bishop. For a knight that was 1 move ago doing nothing, that's a very good deal. You can have an extra pawn for the dark squared. Like I'm willing to give you an extra pawn for the sake of you trading your very precious dark square bishop. Why is it precious? Well, this pawn, okay, sorry. I say pawn as an accident, but can you really blame me? That bishop is doing nothing. It looks like a pawn. That was a joke. So this is the better bishop out of the 2. I just have to be careful about knight g3 in the future. But that's one of the bad things about putting a pawn on f5. Of course, black could have made sense out of this move, but I feel like now, I don't know, we have the center and it's undisputed. Once the whole position is closed, whoever has the space advantage is going to have a better time finding good squares for their pieces. As Arthur Yusupov said, I think, in the strategy book. Now, knight b5 is a serious alternative because b5 is technically an outpost, so we can solidify that outpost with a4. What do I not like about that? I mean, it looks tempting. Knight b5, knight a7, knight d4. Let's go knight c2. I feel like I have potential for b4. Essentially, black, or especially because black, sorry. Sorry. Especially because black wants to bother me in the queen side. It feels like the knight is more useful on c2 to support b4. So rook b1, b4, en passant. En passant, a6, b3, a6, b3, and then the knight is a little bit more useful on c2 because it's not under pressure. On b5, it's more likely to get targeted by this bishop. And once again, I'm avoiding exchanges. I want my opponent to, or I want my opponent's pieces to crash against each other. They don't have space. So it's beneficial for me for them to be bumping into each other and doing, you know, not being able to find their ideal square because someone else is in that ideal square. Wow. This is our first game of this arena, and we're far away in the standings. It's fine. We're focusing on quality. I'm gonna turn this off. Put it on silent at least. Sorry if you heard that. There we go. So this has become a very strategical game. So black seems to be squeezing me a little bit in the queen side. But I'm not sure actually, because now we're getting b4. And if black's bishop just moves, we go a3. We're occupying space in the queen side slowly but surely. We're taking away some key squares. We have to think about pawn structure and pawn breaks. So one of my pawn breaks is pawn to c4. But I'm not ready for it. I think I can squeeze a little bit more juice out of the position. I can also go bishop e3, trading dark square bishop. But I don't know. Knight takes bishop takes e3, knight takes e3. I feel like I want to push this bishop away. So after a takes b3, a takes b3. Sure, black does get a little bit of counterplay in the queen side. Should I take with the rook or with the pawn? With the pawn, I am allowing black maybe to get some tempos here. With the rook, I start targeting the b7 pawn. I think I'll take with the pawn. After rook takes, even though b7 is weak, a2 is also weak. So a takes b3 makes more sense. Oh, we have to hurry up. I always do this, goodness gracious. There's no increment in these arenas. So I think we did give black the queens, I mean the a file. But they can have that, it's fine. We can simply just, we can occupy it back. Okay, let's take. I don't think trading rooks affects our advantage. I think black's pieces still kind of bump into each other. Or maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I should have put rooks on b1 and c1 and put our queen on d1 and then kind of say, look, like your rooks look very nice on the a file, but they're actually not doing anything. Maybe that was the way. But this seems pretty good. Oh, am I allowing g5? I think I have g3. Keeping control. I'm just a little bit scared of losing control on the center. As long as I have a pawn on e5, and black doesn't have any moves like d4 that are working, I think I'll be happy. And for a moment here, black gets kind of like the okay, now I get knight b3. Okay, king g1. Let's bring the king to b2, I think. Is that a good idea? Okay, let's go g3, h4. Okay, so now that we know there's not going to be any counterplay in the king side, we actually can leave our king in the king side. That made no on h2 because knight h6, knight g4. Maybe g1 is fine. Okay, this is just blundering this. Now, should we take with the bishop or with the knight? That's a tough question. Okay, let's take with the knight. Whoa, I forgot about the increment again. I have to remember these things. Oh, great. Oh. Could have. I'll put a bishop on g1. Put a bishop on e2. 10 seconds, I don't think that's enough. You have to take, because if not, yeah. I could have taken an 8. What am I doing? Ah! Ah, no! I pre-moved the wrong one. Good lord, good game. My time management is horrible. We got close though. Ah, Queen d5. What's the best thing? Okay, Queen takes d8 is probably better than Bishop 68 because Queen takes d8 already enables knight g5. I mean, technically what we did is fine. Oh, yeah. Good game. I think it was a good game. Absolutely my fault for managing my time poorly. Absolutely. Yeah. How do I shake this off? It's insane. I only have myself to blame. Would you be interested in playing SRM? I think I'm gonna play the arena. Thank you. Ay. Very poor. You would pay for it? Goodness gracious. Don't worry. Don't. I mean, okay. How do we do this? You don't have to pay for it. I would feel bad. Okay, our opponent didn't make any move. No. It's okay. Now sometimes I do play against viewers, but it's you know. Usually I tell them, like, let's play in the arena, for example. Okay, I see. A real opponent. I wish that one. I'm joking. Okay. If whenever I'm on stream, I usually play weaker, so maybe I'm not your best bet. Grandmaster Gaudi, he became an IM. Or we can play off stream, but you don't have to pay me for that, as long as it's just a blitz game. If it's a classical game, I guess. Sorry, but don't worry. I mean, yeah. We can play off stream a blitz, like 2 blitz games, and I'm not expecting to give you that much value for you to pay me. Okay, so I was expecting a Caro-Kann, but of course clearly black has rejected that. So we get c6 and d6. This is some sort of like modern. I'm expecting black to go some e5, which actually wouldn't be modern. It would become some sort of Philidor. So I'm just gonna play pawn to f4, knight f3, occupy the space, or as much space as I can. That last game is still haunting me. Insane. How do I manage my time so poorly? We were so close as well. So close. Paul for Viewers Arena, Dave. Can you do that as well, Viking? Maybe not now. But it's good to know. Off stream, yeah, it's fine. Yeah. Okay, e5 makes sense. Finally occupying the center. Now we can take on e5. We can play bishop c4. Keeping the tension. I'm gonna go bishop c4, keeping the tension. Taking the pawn, I don't think is worth it at all. I think it's gonna backfire because of the weak. Every time you move your f pawn in any opening, your king becomes weak. Now there's a knight on f6. Things are changing. So takes, now gains the tempo on the knight. And that wasn't happening before. So f takes e5, d takes e5. Oh, there's also ideas of knight takes c4. So knight c3, knight takes e4, knight takes e4, d5. I mean, knight c3 takes. There's also bishop takes f7, knight takes e4. I could also take once and then go knight c3, but I enable this bishop to come out here. Okay. So what about d takes e5? Yeah, f takes e5 makes more sense. I don't want to break the tension, but I feel like d5 is coming. So let's break the tension because of that. As long as you have a reason to break the tension, you're allowed. Okay, now taking here. Why is this bad actually? This looks good. Knight g4 and knight takes e4. Knight g4. There's bishop takes f7, knight g5. Ideas. There's e6 as well. So takes, knight takes e4. Okay, let's take. I don't really have a clear idea to what to do after knight takes e4, but I have this the feeling that castling short side or queen e2 or something like that should be doing well. We're up in development. We're getting a tempo on the knight. Okay, they went knight g4. So bishop takes f7, king takes f7, knight g5. King g8, knight takes, queen takes g4, knight takes c5, queen g3. Bishop d6, there's queen b3, queen f7. e6 is another candidate move. And also just cancel the short side. Bishop takes f7, king takes f7, knight g5. Wow, that seems very tempting. We have to keep an eye on the clock. As we learned last game, bishop takes f7, king takes f7, knight g5, king e8 or king g8. King g8, queen takes g4, knight takes e5, queen g3. There's queen b3, which really sells that line. What about king g6, queen takes g4, knight takes e5, queen g3? That looks horrible. Okay. Whoa! What happened? Whoa! Thank you, Chess Lover. Thank you. You didn't have to. That's insane. Why did the alert didn't work? Thank you. Thank you very much. That's insane. Wow. Well, yeah, send me. I was fine with those games being well, I appreciate it. I appreciate it. So we calculated this, queen takes g4. We calculated this, queen g3. Okay, we reached until this position. Of course, the knight, very importantly, it's defended by the bishop. Wow, that's the second donation I've ever received. So bishop d6, knight f3 check. King f6 is not possible because of bishop g5. Okay, queen a5. What about bishop d2? Knight c3 was my initial reaction, but then I realized bishop d2 is actually creating a threat. Usually you should focus more on the moves that are creating threat. Let's go bishop d2. There's nothing like knight d3 or knight f3 working. Out of those two, knight f3 is the worst because knight takes f3 is check, and then we're taking that queen. So queen b5 is played, but now I think we must be. There's already some pressure against d5, which is in a very delicate way, being held or being protected. So this should be winning, and actually there's a very nice line. After king f6 we have, oh, I missed that. King f6 would have run into queen f4, king e6, knight d4, forking the knight, forking the king and the queen. Knight g4 I absolutely missed. I have the vague feeling that h3 is probably working. And once again, I think there's a beautiful line. Okay, but let's calm down for a second. So there's also knight c3. I think all roads probably lead to Rome. h3, queen takes b2, h6 g4, queen takes a1. Knight e5, king f6, castle short side. Yeah, there's no way that's working for black. Let's go for it. Let's not get into time trouble. You're absolutely right. Does this work?
This is a test super chat message.
So that's what was supposed to happen, but it didn't happen. I don't know, let's take the knight. Queen takes a1 is a sacrifice. If you can even call that a sacrifice, because there's knight e5, king f6. Castle short side, and that there's no way that's holding for. black. There's also knight h4, king f6, bishop c3. So king f7. We have queen b3 or castle short side. We have castle short side right away, by the way. You know what they say? They say this: the threat is stronger than the execution. So castle short side, we threaten 95. Beautifully, oh no, it's not mate because black can technically sacrifice the queen, but yeah, ultra winning. The problem with castle short side is bishop c5, king h2, and something like h6. So, I mean, even though bishop c3, queen 6 a2, something like knight h4, king f7, rook f7 is probably super winning. Yeah, that's probably winning. Just a matter of which one's the most winning, I guess. 95. Let's go 95. This one seems clean. Whenever your opponent's in the middle and dancing around, it's very difficult to play practically. King f6. There's bishop g5 here as a candidate move. King takes g5, queen h4. King f4, knight d3. Can't end well. Bishop g5, king takes g5. There's also queen h4, king takes g5, bishop c3, but that's maybe not as strong. Queen h4, bishop g5, king takes. Queen h4, king takes. Knight d3, king takes e4. Yeah, that's not clear. Let's castle short side. King e7, I have bishop b4. King e6 is asking for trouble. Queen b3. King takes e5, bishop c3. Actually, king takes e5, bishop f4. King f6, bishop d6, king g6, queen f7, mate. I know, king g5, rook f5. I mean, there must be a mate there. Bishop g5, bishop b4. Queen f7, bishop b4. Let's check. Bishop g5. Okay, there are 1,000 ways. That's probably the only problem with this position. King d8, queen d3, king c7, rook f7, king b8, bishop d6. But I guess for extra spice, for extra spice, king d8, queen d3, king c7, rook f7, king b8, queen d6. Let's hope. King e8 is also possible. Schach, king b6 is the best. And there we have knight c4, we have 23. I'm amazed that it has come to this, by the way. It's thought it was going to stop. Where's actually the mate? I'm getting worried here. Goodness gracious. Do I know how to play? Goodness gracious, that was much closer than it should have been. That was insane. Oh, wait a second, it's not even over. Good lord. I am unbelievable. This is unbelievable. Wow, I am lucky. King A4. King A4 would have worked. I apologize there. That's insane. That's unacceptable. You should never, I mean, that's insane. I got way, that's insane. I mean, there are 1,000 ways here. 1,000. That's insane. Bishop G5 is probably easier. This is mate. That's insane. There we go. This is the fourth mate. It's insane how you relax, never relax. How many times do I have to suffer for me to actually learn the lesson? Well, it's not clear here still. Goodness gracious, rook d5. This is mate. That's insane. Okay, this is the way then. Let's take a look at the engine. Yeah, bishop g5. I mean, what is wrong with me? I mean, this is also winning. What is wrong with me? Could I play queen d8? That's insane. Wow. Very unprofessional. Very unprofessional. Tunnel vision. Yeah. That's insane. GG. Oof. But yeah, I guess that my opponent could have played knight takes c4 in the opening rather than knight g4. Knight g4 just asks for trouble. Okay, knight f3. So I was following Leon Livaich, grandmaster from Croatia. He recommends 1d6 against anything, or he has a chessable course, which is reasonably popular. So he recommends the Philidor against this. Knight f6, knight g5. Let's not blunder that. I think bishop e7 is more accurate. Although d4 here. Bishop e7, d4. Knight d7. Takes. Queen d5. We're losing. You have to be careful with the move order here. Actually, we could go knight c6. What was wrong with knight d7, d4? Hey, thanks for subscribing. There we go, now it works. Let's go knight c6. Okay. So now we go bishop e7. We go knight f6. Now we're getting that Philidor. It's a weird Philidor because normally you put your knight on d7 and play c6. We could argue that it's more resembling an Italian actually. With d6. Actually potentially transpose into Italian territory after d5, which would be very interesting, but it would be a better Italian for white because they already have h3 and I wasted tempos doing d6 and yeah. So here I'm going to play bishop e6, as it's very well known. It doesn't matter when your pawn structure gets damaged here, because you get the chance of playing knight h5, knight f4 easy, in an easier way. So let's keep making moves, decent moves, just keeping an eye on the clock. I'm gonna play queen d7, connecting rooks, potentially going for d5 later on. Playing h6 eventually as a useful move. There we go. So rook a d8 going for d5. Actually, d5 now that the pawn is on b4 could work, because takes, c3 is hanging at the end. But the problem is that b5 is in the air. So let's play a6. Preventing white from occupying space. Sometimes I want to go b5 myself. Okay, bishop b3. I'm gonna go d5 now. If I go d5, e takes, knight takes d5, knight takes e5. Knight takes e5, rook takes e5, knight takes c3. No, knight takes c3 doesn't work probably, but bishop f6 works. Probably that's a better version. Well, if you can go d5 in many openings, normally that's a freeing move. When you get d5 in a decent shape, it's usually a good sign. When are you doing a speedrun series, sir? I don't think you're allowed to speedrun on Lichess. You could do it on chess.com, but I'm not. This is controversial. Okay, the light square bishop. This is the Italian bishop, the Ruy Lopez bishop. I'm more than happy to sacrifice a pawn for it. And also I have bishop f6 ideas. I think liberating d5. Yeah, speedrun is a good idea to show how the progress goes. So the progression through the rating climb. But I think chess.com, I don't know. I really like Lichess. I like the idea of in my opinion, it's just cleaner. I mean, look at this. It's very clean. It's very non-invasive. Like everything is organized, it seems. Chess.com is fine. I mean, nothing against it. I just really like Lichess. That's the problem. Wow, I didn't expect that. So they sacrifice the exchange, and they're arguing that, well, first of all, they have a pawn for it. Second of all, my bishop is not that good because the pawns are on the way. However, I think we can potentially go for this pawn break, b6, c5. And I think they're, I don't know, struggling a little bit in development. I think I'm going to start with this move a5. Seems very annoying move to meet. I'm creating an obvious threat of a takes before, undermining the structure. And also white can't play the ideal a3 because of takes, and then they can't take with the a pawn, of course. Yeah. I think black is... I don't think that was necessary from white. Bishop a3, so... What is the argument here? Let's keep the tension. There's no need to release the tension. We can play rook f8. Yeah, the algorithm would pick it up. That's true. But the amount of things that I could have done just for the sake of the algorithm picking it up, such as I played against this bot on chess.com with 1,000 queens and I held only a king. Yeah, that's not the type of content. I mean, feel like people do that and it's entertainment and it's fine. I'm still building this channel to make it so it's instructive. Still tons of work to do, tons of work. I need to organize. So knight b3. Okay, so a takes b4, bishop takes b4. That's still not working. I mean, it's fine. Oh, there's a very nice line. There's a4, knight c5, b6. It's a cheapo. Knight takes a4, queen b5. We're winning the bishop on a3. But I don't want to close things off. Or do I? I don't think so. I want to open things up. Sorry. Takes b6. a3 or a4. Okay, I'm gonna play takes. I'm gonna release the tension. And then I'm gonna follow it up with b6. And the idea is just... Sure, my bishop is still not amazing. But I didn't want to close the position. And I didn't want to allow b takes a5. So the bishop is activated, but at least my pawn is still on b7, and my pawn could have been on a5. In which case c5 is very weak. So I think this knight doesn't have any prospects. It's very well limited. We're doing well. Now c5 is also an idea. Takes. I'm taking on a4, but it's not quite working because they're taking on b6 at the end. Is there any way we can make that work? There's also bishop e7. Lucky you stopped greeting all the viewers after the end of... Yeah. Queen c4. Knight d2, queen d3. Or queen e2. There's also bishop e7. What is the threat? a5? We can tolerate that. Because a5, a takes b6. It does trade pawns, which white wants to do. But it's not such a big deal. So now my threat is rook e2. Okay, what about c5 here? Takes, bishop takes c3. And we're kind of finally breaking all of that, but we're trading tons of pawns on the way. Rook e2, I don't like that after a takes. Rook takes. They can take with the queen, I think. But I take with the pawn, it's fine. Rook e2 takes, queen takes. I can't take the knight because there's some tactics here. So takes. What do I think of that position? It's a little bit unclear. Oh, I know. I think I know. d5 takes, rook a d8. So the queen is... Well, the queen has to protect. That's a little bit scary though. But I think it works. So d5 takes, rook here. Knight d2. So takes. We should be winning. I know that's equal material. What am I saying? c5 takes, rook here. Knight d2. Queen f4. Queen d3. Yeah, I like queen f4. I like this move. Because it's finally making my rook active. And the whole point why, or the whole reason why we're better is because we have a rook against the bishop. So we should impose that advantage by activating pieces, even if it means to sacrifice a pawn or two. So we're sacrificing this pawn. Takes. We're activating the rook. Okay, that blunders the knight on b3. So let's take it. I mean, of course, the pawns look very dangerous, but I don't think it's enough. Actually, there's a very nice idea, which is rook e4. So if b7, rook takes b4, takes, rook d1. But of course, I think rook b1 is in the air. We can play queen d5, just a defensive move. I have to speed up. Okay. Queen here. We can go rook e4 as well. Queen b5. We can start creating threats with bishop e5. Okay, that we take queen d4 check, and we're taking on a1. And this time it's too many pieces. And there's also some back rank issues, so yeah, it should be game over. So for example, b7 or c6, bishop e5, threatening rook d1 mate. Even king g1 is even worse, because if I get bishop g3 in, it's just force mate. So probably they have to sacrifice the pawn. With sorry, they can go to g4 as well. But the point is, we're taking all the pawns. I think this is the easiest. b7, you can go, I can just bishop c7, it's gonna be eternal. You know, it's just a matter of time. They're gonna try to trick us with b6. Oh no. Okay, now we can take this one. Yeah, that was impressive clock management. Not sure if you're joking or not, but if you're not, thank you. If you are, yeah, you. Given the last game, yeah. King d5. As soon as the king goes to g3, I have f5. Actually, let's try to be instructive here. Actually, let's do it this way. They always try that. Let's lose a tempo. There we go. Thanks for the game. Yeah, I think we can still work in our time management. But that was an instructive game. Let's just take a look at it. And maybe we can learn a thing or two. So out of the 3 games we played, we had two instructive games. The first one, which I failed to convert because of the time, but we got a very nice position. And it's +1 over here. Yeah, it went very well. Everything except the time management. We even stopped the counterplay, but here we just... Yeah, I got excited. We played this one as well, which was a good game. But once again, we were relaxed too soon. So it's super winning here. We had different ways, and I was too busy enjoying my position, and I failed to find the mate in 2. FM, by the way. And then we had this last game, which is a nice way of finishing. I was just a little bit worried at the beginning. It's easy to fall into tricks when you're playing in the wrong order, so knight f6. Oh, there we go. So knight g5 is not losing because of d5. But okay, if you have to play d6, d5, you really need to do your homework. You need to play h6 here. I don't want to go into that. I went knight c6. And now we transposed, funnily enough, in some sort of Italian where black refused to play d5, which is very playable. And yeah, it was equal around here already. So I think white could have taken... what could have white done? They could have taken here and gone b4 to make it difficult for black to play d5 because of b5 ideas. After we got d5, yeah. Do I like the King's Gambit? I think it's very... I think it's playable in Blitz. And I think it's playable in Classical up to some point. Very weakening. It's very weakening, but your opponent has to play like pretty accurately to exploit it, so... I don't know what to say. I wouldn't play it. Me personally, not in Classical. In Blitz, definitely. I think Nepo was playing it in the Speed Championship. Not this year. I don't think it has happened this year. 2024, 2023. So d5 is liberating. Esserman. Oh, yeah. Friend of yours. No way. Yeah, Esserman is insane. I'm a big fan of his Morra. Actually, I started playing the Morra because of... I mean, not entirely because of him, but greatly, quite a big part of his streams or like his YouTube videos, banning the Morra. Before I used to think that the Smith Morra was just like, you know, nothing. Like, there goes the pawn. But he did tons of research, tons of... that's insane. What a small world the chess. The chess world is super small. Yeah, he has King Gambit videos. But I don't know, I prefer the Smith Morra. I think out of... Well, I would have to check the King's Gambit. Maybe I changed my mind again. He's played it in Classical. He's beaten strong players with the Smith Morra. But not sure if the King's Gambit has had as much success as the Smith Morra for him. Either way. Bishop takes d5 was just... I think it's just a little bit materialistic here. It's a good example, actually. Knight takes d5, white sees the chance, the opportunity of taking on d5 and taking on e5, and they take it. But then, like, even if it's not because of bishop f6, this is very instructive. Bishop f6 just gives me it's a no-brainer. Like, there's no way this is not good for black. This is good for black. Not only because white gave up the light squared bishop, we have the bishop pair, but we're on top of all of that, which is already good for black, as I said, we're getting back the pawn on c3. But even if we were to play bishop f6, something like a5 is also almost -1. So it's just you can reject this move. You can, if you're playing with white pieces, you can really not play this just by thinking, wait a second, what am I actually doing? I'm just exchanging a light squared bishop. The so important light squared bishop in the Italian and in the Ruy Lopez, you're exchanging it for a knight. Well, not for a knight, for the sake of winning a pawn. And then, yeah, this is -2. How did we convert this? Okay, so good. So far, so good. Queen c4 was an incredible. Rook a d8, c5. Yeah, we should have found this idea sooner, c5, and then this is game over. Because we're kind of breaking through. But we played queen c4 first, and this is a weird version. This is fine, yeah. Oh, now this is not fine. Knight d2. Oh, we covered that, queen f4. Oh no, it is fine. Yeah, it's just the Lichess engine being a little bit too weak. There we go. On depth 20 it doesn't understand this, but on depth 24 it does. -1. But better would have been b takes c5, bishop takes e5, queen takes c3 according to this. The only move to kind of resist here is knight d2 though. Because after this, it's just a piece. Does look scary. But yeah, and f3 just makes things a little bit easier for us because we get into this. Okay, well. Chess. I mean, yeah, sure. Are you down for a game, Chess Lover? I mean, I was planning to do it off stream, so finish the stream and then play a game against them. Because I'm stronger like that. But then now everyone's gonna think I'm cheating. So let's do it on stream, I guess. Boris Spassky is 16-0 with King's Gambit. Nepo is a freaking user also. I like the King's Gambit video of Spassky versus Karpov on YouTube where they explain their moves. Before c5 I was thinking queen c4 there as well. I didn't know Boris Spassky played the King's Gambit. That's very poor by me actually. I should know chess history better. Yeah, c5, yeah. We were trying to make c5 work. We just didn't think of rook a8 preparing it. We were too impatient. Okay. Let's challenge. Be gentle with me. Okay. What would you like to play? Would you like to play a rapid? This is my username. Yeah, I think 10 plus something. 10 plus 0 if you're a fan of no increment. 10 plus 5. Okay, Leonid Stein. I'll do this off stream just to... plus 5, there we go. 10 plus 5? Okay. Good luck. Good luck. I'm trying my best. Okay, let's play the double king's pawn. d6 is very interesting, but I think this makes more sense. So let's play knight c6, double king's pawn. So white has d4, knight c3, the 4 knights variation, bishop c4, the Italian. Sure. Okay, the Italian. So we're gonna get the Italian. There's two serious ways black can play. Knight f6 allows this sideline, which is not so much of a sideline these days. It's actually semi-serious. And there's bishop c5 if you wanted to get the Italian. Bishop c5 is a more reliable way to get into that. Okay, they go d3. So this is very serious stuff. This is the slow Italian. They're not going for d4 right away. That wouldn't be slow. This is d3. Okay. I saw not long ago, I had a game. Normally black goes bishop c5, which is a more active square for the bishop. But if you want to go for d5, very often you want your bishop to not get hit with ideas of c3 b4 or knight c3 94 or knight d2 94. And especially maybe sometimes bishop f6 is a very useful move to have to defend your e5 pawn, which is one of the problems of black. Black, whenever they go d5, e5 becomes weak. So I'm gonna go bishop e7. I'm gonna keep this flexible. I haven't gone d6 yet. Maybe I do want to go d6 later. But for now, I think I'm... Okay, we're gonna castle short side. So now we're in the middle game. This is where things go wrong. I mean, typical from white is to go c3 or knight bd2. They have to watch out to not get mixed up with the move orders here. Hello, Peter. I do play subscribers now that we are getting a little bit more people in. I was considering to make a poll, or well, my fresh admin Viking suggested the idea of making an arena with viewers. For the moment, I think I will play this game and I will call it a day. So if I do play against viewers, it will be probably on Wednesday. I usually stream on Saturdays, Sundays, and Wednesdays. Okay, knight c3. So now if I were to play d6, we get to this symmetrical position with white to play. So of course white is slightly better. Not only because it's their move, but also they have the bishop outside the pawn chain. And my bishop is a little bit more passive. So pawn to d6 would be kind of accepting that. On the other hand, I think we're reasonably solid. Oh, there goes my camera. I'm going to change it very quickly. Give me a sec. So I'm going to go h3. Makes sense. Wait a second, does it make sense? It's allowing knight a5. There we go. Does it work? Yes, it does. So knight a5, isn't that just winning the bishop pair? If I can win the bishop pair, that would be amazing. Yeah, I think this is an inaccuracy. a4, a3. Maybe d4 is interesting, but you have to calculate knight takes e4. That seems like an inaccuracy. Okay. Have a nice day as well, Peter. a6, bishop a4. b5, bishop b3. c6, bishop a4, b5, bishop e3. Which one do I want? a6 or c6? I don't want to move my pawn on the c in the c file. I don't know. There's also b4. So a6, b4. There's a takes b5, and we're doing well. But c6, b4. C takes b5 maybe it's a little bit weirder, because my extra pawn is on the b file. d5 is slightly weak. Let's go a6. Maybe it was better to go c6 actually, because c6, b5. Then I have, after bishop b3, maybe I have ideas on knight b7, a5. So a7, a5. It's okay. I think we're gonna take this bishop regardless. Now the other question that remains to be answered is where I want to put my bishop. If I put my bishop on b7, that is crashing against this structure. Do I have to take the bishop on b3 right away, or can I keep the tension? Funnily enough, I want to play c6 now, because knight d5 is coming. You know what? I'll take the bishop, and I'll play bishop b7. And the idea is to get d5 eventually. I don't think white can stop it. I think I'll just infinitely prepare it with h6, rook e8. I don't think white will be able to stop it. Very importantly, white. I'm also discouraging white from going d3 to d4, because there's pressure against d4. And knight takes b5 was a threat, of course. I don't want to allow this, right? This would be that would be very poor. Okay, so rook e1. So rook e8 is an idea. It allows d4 though. So c5 is an idea. Well, maybe we should just tolerate d4. So for example, I go rook e8. If d4, I can play knight d7, bishop f6. I don't want to take though, because taking seems to just help white. Like, I don't know, queen takes d4. Maybe then we can play knight d7. Now there are ideas of d5. But David, you're sacrificing on e5. Well, yeah, potentially in this, like if it was black to play again, probably d5 still not yet. So for example, b4, 92, d5 would be a good example of the idea. The motive. Yeah, allowing knight a5 is critical. Black should be slightly better. We'll check it. We'll check it. Okay, bishop g5. Okay, should we ask the question h6? Bishop takes f6, bishop takes f6. Seems to be fine for me. d5, Now that there's a bishop on g5, potentially knight takes d5, knight takes e7 ideas, but that doesn't seem to work. Even though that is a pattern where a bishop lands on g5, that becomes a tactical motive. Doesn't seem to be irrelevant. Knight d7, keeping the knight, refusing to have the bishop pair. Not sure if that makes sense. There's c6 as well. Because h6 takes knight d5, I think is the idea. If I allow that, bishop takes d5, he takes d5. I mean, that looks good. But I don't know, I'm not fully convinced. What do I do there? g6, bishop g7, f5? Actually, yeah, maybe that. Maybe I go g6, bishop g7, f5. That should be good for me. Okay. But do we have to allow that? Or can I go c6? I don't know. c6 looks too slow. Chess has to be quicker. You have to create threats, make plans, execute those plans, answer and prevent your opponent's plans. Keep an eye on the general consensus of the position. What do I mean by that? Well, black has the bishop pair, white doesn't. White wants to go for this pawn break, black wants to do this, yeah. And on top of that, you have to be aware of tactics. That's why chess is difficult. Oh, wait a second. Yeah. That's why you have to be... Sorry, that's why chess is difficult, because you have to mix all of these things together. Now, bishop h4. We haven't established what we're going to play. But okay, bishop takes f6 happens. I think bishop h4 isn't that clear. Maybe I go c6 then. Maybe queen d7. Bishop takes f6. My watch is telling me to take a break. So we're going to take back with the bishop. Knight d5. We're going to take. Or do we have something like c6? I don't know. Taking seems reasonable. Especially because the pawn on d5, it's annoying, but at the same time, it's slightly weak. I don't want to go e4. That simplifies the position. I'm sacrificing the central pawn for one on b2 that is doing nothing. I don't want to sacrifice that. Instead, I'm going to go bishop g6, bishop g7, f5. And with this setup, hopefully I can put my queen on d7 or on f7. Connect rooks, target the weak d5 pawn. I'm expecting white to go c4 eventually. Why do I go g6, bishop g7, f5? Because I know that white is already eyeing the e4 square for their knight. So this setup plays against that and also occupies, you know, the center. Bishop h4 was also possible. Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah. That's an incredible question, yeah. Incredibly difficult, I should say. Because bishop takes e7, knight takes c3, bishop takes d8, queen... What is going on there? My intuition tells me that... Wow, that's an incredible question, because knight takes e4, rook takes e4 looks... but that doesn't work because bishop takes h4, rook takes h4, bishop takes f3, and then queen takes h4. Bishop a4, knight takes e4, bishop takes e7, knight takes c3. Bishop takes d8 is the only reason why this makes sense. If not, we're just winning. Knight takes d1, bishop takes c7. There we go. Bishop takes c7, and then all of a sudden our knight is landing on b2, and there's no future for that. I don't think it worked, but I didn't see it. I didn't look at it so deeply. King h7, because of course f5 is not possible. Let's keep an eye on the time. Yeah, queen g4 maybe is just one of those. Unless the queen wants to go to b4. In which case, maybe this is playable. It looks a little bit weird to take the queen there. Yeah, interesting. I mean, I don't know. Doesn't make that much sense to me. I'm gonna go queen d7 if c4. If the whole idea of putting the queen on b4 is to go c4 and c4 having more strength, like being stronger, I don't know. I fail to fully believe in it. Interesting. Okay. Okay, let's go rook here. c5 have takes, and all of a sudden I focus on the d5 pawn. Sorry. Yeah, c5 takes, rook d8, rook c1, let's say. I could go rook a c8. I think after taking on d5, I always have more pawns to take. So queen takes d5, queen takes d5, rook takes d5. I'm taking on d3. I'm attacking the knight. If the knight moves, b3 is hanging. Like, it's like everything's connected, which is inconvenient for white, of course. Rook a2. That seems to work. So because my king is not in the 8th rank, I can afford to play this. But if my king was in the 8th rank, it wouldn't be working. Did I see that all the way before? Like, of course not. No. No. I think I spat on my screen. Ay, 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 ay. Now white has to not take on c4, which is a very big deal. Because I've successfully left these 2 pawn islands. I mean, ultimately 3 pawn islands, but I've crushed the connection. The pawn on c4 was important, yeah. And if white, the whole point is that after taking the pawn on c4, white wanted to recapture with a pawn. If white can't do that, that's a big deal. So let's take here. Now, we're spoiled for choice here a little bit, but we still have to be careful. For example, white is not going to take back, or I don't know, white is going to play rook c1 after either of them, I'm quite sure. We have to play accurately here. We also have to be careful with something like rook b5, because then queen a4 and all of a sudden we're in this Annoying. Annoying. Sorry about that. Annoying pin. I think I wanted to take on d3. Okay. I'm gonna take on b3 actually. Rook c1, I play rook b7. It's momentarily, like it's not gonna be like that forever. Good lord, I'm super cold. It's insane. How many degrees is it out there? Sorry about that. Okay, queen a7. Queen b5, rook b5. Okay, rook b5 makes sense. This time after queen a4, there's c6. And I think I'm escaping a little bit more. There's also queen e8. Oh yeah, I see. That's a little bit annoying. When I say a little, I mean pretty annoying. I should have seen that. Okay, we're gonna have to play rook c5. It's not ideal. Queen d6, f5. Queen a4. Okay, queen a4. Let's give this a shot. Yeah, that was very poor by me, allowing rook c1. Okay. Oh no. Thank you, Sidretti, for subscribing. Yeah. f5. I have to stop 94. It's too annoying. Actually, I could go e4. Actually, wait a second. Does e4 work? Tactics along this diagonal. D takes e4, queen takes b2, knight f3, queen c3. And I'm promoting my pawn. Knight takes e4, queen takes b2, and it looks scary because... yeah, my b pawn is running. Queen takes b2. Knight takes e4. Queen e5, b2. Ah, no, no queen e5. Maybe queen d4. b2. Whoa. But this is not working. Wow, that was a close game. Close game. What was going on after queen b7? Thank you for the game, chess lover. Queen b7. Because queen d3, there's knight f6, and I'm losing. I think I'm losing here. Do I have to go h5? But the h5 can't be working. g5. But then d7. Queen d3. I don't know. Thank you, chess lover. Thank you. I think allowing me to get the bishop here was dangerous. I think that was the first critical moment. This transformation was interesting. I was wondering if maybe bishop h4 was playable. Someone else suggested that knight 64 may work, but I don't think it works. Although it's not obvious at all. But bishop takes e7, and it seems like this knight is not getting out. So we're losing material at the end. Tough game there at the end, so many things to think about, so little time, exactly. This is the second moment of the game where I think things happened. Maybe rook a5 instead. Takes. And this, I completely messed this up. Rook b5 just allows rook c1. And I think now if you're not, like, you're at least equalized. It's starting to look scary. If I have to do something like this is super depressing. Yeah, I shouldn't have allowed that. Hello, Sideretti. See the right. What am I saying? I'm just lucky I have queen a4 actually. If it's not because of queen a4, what am I gonna play? Queen d6 or f5? I don't know. Queen a4 seems annoying. Here I was looking into, I don't know. Yeah, queen takes e7 can't be wrong. And then I think e4 is just a practical move. Ever used the Leech's Tools browser extension? I've used Leech's extensions for layout to make it that the times are not on the side but on the bottom and things like that, but not that. Ah, sorry, you mean from mobile. I guess every time I log in onto Leech's from my phone from Chrome, yeah. Why does it not work? Ah, wow. Tools browser extension. Ever used the Leech's Tools browser extension? What is like? Well, first of all, thanks for developing it, Leech's. I'm a big fan of Leech's. Second of all, I'm not sure which extension you're talking about, but if it's the one, I'm quite sure I bumped into it on the search on my way to search for the layout one, the streamer's layout one. Let me just finish this postmortem. Queen takes e7, queen a1. So this can't be, yeah, e4 is a practical move. This is what I was saying. You played queen takes f7. I'm not checking the engine yet. I will check it. Queen takes b2. Actually, now that I realize, maybe this is not the way for white because there's queen f5. Although, what is going on here? Takes knight d2, b2. This should be a draw. Because I only have 3 pawns. I'm down 2 pawns. There's no way. Never mind. Yeah, maybe this is the way. I mean, you just take on f7. I don't think taking on d3 is any different. I mean, this is insane, but I think it doesn't work. I think you're arriving first. So queen takes b2 is kind of the only try. Knight takes e4. Yeah, I'm kind of... I thought I was pushing for a win here, but after d6, b2, and queen b7, I think I'm fighting for my life. g5 is not very clear. Or maybe I'm not fighting for... I don't know. It's very unclear. I need time here to process. Time queen takes e3, knight f6. If you got scared of how many options I had. Queen b2, bishop b5. Exactly, when I play e4. Yeah, I thought I had to take on f7. Taking on f7 seems right. As queen takes b2 will come with threat bishop b5. Exactly. Yeah, so you're not only taking a pawn and creating the threats of knight f6, but you're also getting out of this. Because if I trade queens and your knight is not in time, yeah. So like what I mean is not only bishop e5 is scary, but also queen e5. But also by taking on f7, oh sorry, I know what you mean now. By taking on f7, you're also pinning the bishop, which means the bishop e5. Yeah. I'm just trying to figure out if this is a win for any one of it. It's probably just a draw. But I don't know who's pushing. I don't know. But it must be a draw. I'm gonna check the engine now. There we go. So it's a draw, objectively. But actually you are the one pushing, according to the engine. So I find queen d4. This is a little bit of luck, by the way. I'm lucky that the only move is just centralizing the queen. It makes sense. Kind of stopping the pawn. And yeah, queen b7. Queen b7 is the best. And then I have to play king h8. Why not g5? Because of d7. Wow, this is beyond my... Oh, okay, yeah, it is. It is kind of my comprehension. So you can squeeze a little bit out of this endgame. That's why g5 is not the best, but king h8 is a little bit better. Interesting. Always played games in the draw. We played perfectly. Let's take a look at just lastly. Yeah, allowing knight a5, instant equal. I mean, I'm surprised it's not already slightly better for black. Maybe it's just how much I despise losing the bishop pair, because I've fallen into this so many times as white. But yeah, it's ability. And here, yeah, bishop b3. I guess the question here is, what should you do? Should you give me a6 and b5 like in the game? We reach this same position with black to play, but black's pawns on a7 and b7, or pawns on a6 and b5 like in the game. And it turns out that it's better to not provoke it. Sometimes it's difficult to evaluate these things. Sometimes the pawns are weak, but in this case, I don't know. I don't want to allow bishop g4, knight d4. I see. So for example, if you play a4, which is the main line, probably. Why is bishop g4 not too big of a deal? I guess bishop e3 and it's fine. And you're just gonna take. Play something like knight d5. Let's see what the engine thinks. Even h3 and Then bishop e3, yeah. So bishop e3 eventually. Bishop e3 here, or h3 and then bishop e3. That's what the engine likes. And after this, takes. That was a way who won. I ended up winning in a time scramble. It was pretty intense. Yeah, this queen b7 or queen b3. Very intense, very intense. I think I will call it a day. I feel like I'm forgetting something. Someone talked about an opening. I'll take a look at openings in general. I think someone was interested in the 4 knights. I won't recommend what I used the thumbnail for this video is. A4 I think is just a surprise. It's purely psychological. Nothing objective out of there. I think it's interesting to go for things like this, which in Blitz is very playable. Knight d5 right away is also playable. And h3 is also playable. Or a3. Which one did Magnus use against Niemann in the World Rapid 2024? I think it was a3. No, it was h3. It was h3. I remember now. But okay, I'll take a look at this position. Really appreciate the game. I would love to play more in the future. You have an excellent. Thank you, and next time we can play. don't worry. You don't. Yeah, I'm gonna look into how to make a viewer arena, and then we can all play. Okay, thanks everyone. Hope you have a good day. I'll be streaming on Wednesday and then back to the weekend. But yeah, stay safe and see you around.